Hi, Misha here, and last year I took one of my long time and favorite guns out to the range just because I wanted to let Fox and nephew try it out. E99.
Walther, P99.
I know where the brass was going. Now, I fully admit, especially to people very accustomed to Glocks, the Walther P99, especially the grip styling, takes getting used to. For me, not so much, because this was really the first polymer framed striker gun I personally bought and owned. I had, of course, fired Glocks before. My brother was issued one that was back in the Gen 1 days, but I didn't own it. So I adapted to it quite quickly. In fact, I've told the story many times. When I went to the store, turns out I was looking all over town for a place that might have a P99 in stock. This was back early 2000s. The store literally down the street from me had one used unfired. The moment he set it in my hands, it just fit right. And there weren't many options 20 plus years ago. Anyway, that was last year. This year, a little while back, Fox asked me to bring this gun out. Again, for him and nephew to try. It has been a long time since we've shot the old PPQ, so first we're going to do it unsuppressed. Jailed up. Now Fox with the PPQ. PPQ.
Yeah, it turns out I'm not as accurate with the PPQ.
And this isn't just your usual PPQ, as Jay and I years ago kind of jokingly nicknamed it. This is the first edition version that I've had a long time on the channel. And yeah, we decided to start off shooting it unsuppressed just to get a feel for it. But of course, part of it was he wanted to use my Osprey, my silencer co, which just coincidentally fits perfect in this case. Something that over the years Jero and I and others have shot. Of course, it's a dedicated 9mm suppressor, 9mm gun. The first edition is a pretty cool gun. I actually got this as a demo from Walther. It was a show demo, so unfired, but handled a bit, so it was a good price. And what makes the first edition, aside from the special markings, you get an extended 4.6-inch barrel, threaded 1/2x28. You get metal 3-dot tritium night sights. Not the glow-in-the-dark phosphorus ones, but actual night sights. Although by now these probably are close to dying, if I'm being honest. And you get a different case. It's a pretty nice hard case with foam inserts, and yes, it did come with the insert for the suppressor. Even has a small insert for the muzzle cap, the thread protector. And I believe it came with 3 mags total. You had the 215s and then the 1+2 version here. It was a pretty neat package, especially considering, like I said, I kind of bought it somewhat used for a good deal. By the way, this P99 is the so-called military version, which just means it has the green frame, and it is, in fact, a Gen 1. And the PPQ is effectively a P99 Gen 3. So with that was Fox's first attempt at it. Let's let him put another couple of mags through it. Fox and PPQ again.
Yeah, we're getting the hang of it now.
I would say so. With that, let's put it in nephew's hands. Again, still running it unsuppressed, so just it's a standard P99 M1 with just a little bit longer barrel. See what he thinks of it.
That is really smooth.
Yeah.
So, just as a straight gun, no problems at all. And we'll get to why the video is titled the way it is very soon. You know, the P99, as I've said in many videos, in fact, last year I did a video comparing this Gen 1 to an equivalent Gen 3 Glock. You can check it out. I give my reasons. But really enjoy it. It's a striker fired, but it simulates a double single action. It's got a 4-inch barrel, standard rifling, chrome lined, interchangeable sights, of course. It was the first gun to be mass produced, at least with interchangeable back straps. And it has the German style paddle mag release, which I really enjoy. The P99, while never making a huge splash in America, really was popular in Europe. And changes to it came over time. This is a Gen 1. Gen 2s kind of rolled out. In fact, there were so-called Gen 1.5s around 2004, 2005. In 2011, we got the PPQ. And it integrated a lot of the improvements that had come into the design. For example, deeper slide serrations front and back, and ambidextrous slide release on both sides. Keep that in mind for a minute from now. And a new texture grip. Still has interchangeable back straps. Fun fact, when these first came out, these marked back straps really freaked people out. There's no microchip in there. But back in 2011, people were completely distrusting of anything to do with microchips. Again, the standard PPQ would have a 4-inch barrel. This one has the 4.6. And they actually use the same sights, not only as the P99, but also other guns like the PPS. Of course, the big deal with these was the striker system. The P99 came in 3 different triggers. The kind of simulated double single action, originally known just as the P99, later the P99AS, then the P99 DAO, which as you can guess is double action only, also known as the P990, and then of course the P99QA, quick action, which is like a Glock. Well, the PPQ took the quick action and further refined it. Walther calls it a quick defense trigger. Quite a light pull at about 5.5 pounds, give or take. So not uber duper light, but still pretty light for a striker gun. But where it really wins out is, of course, and people know this now, but back in 2011, this was pretty new. The reset was only about 0.1 of an inch, 1/10 of an inch, and just a very light follow-up shot capability. In fact, so light that in Germany it wasn't legal for police use because it was, well, too light and had too short of a reset. Fun fact. But it did see considerable use outside. Oh, and they have on the Gen 1s the same German style paddle mag, but of course it's extended out quite a bit compared to the original. So that's why I tend to think of the PPQ, especially this version, as just like a Gen 3 P99. So with that, enough waffling on. Let's put the suppressor on, because that's kind of what Fox wanted to try out. So of course it just screws on. Now in Europe, the suppressor that Walther would ship with most PPQ threaded barrels was actually Berger and Domet's Impulse 2. But of course, we cannot import those for civilian sales because 1968 gun control. So for the USA, the Silencer Co. Osprey seemed like a good fit. Now keep in mind, I've had this suppressor a decade, so yeah, there were probably newer, better ones, but back then it was a really good fit for the PPQ. Now, one little problem, the sights that this comes with are the standard sights. They're not raised. So they work fine with nothing on the barrel, but they're occluded when a suppressor's on there. That's why I have a laser that does clear the suppressor down here. And this does have a standard multi-slot 1913 aka Picatinny rail, whereas the Gen 1s had a proprietary rail, which you might think is stupid, and today it's antiquated, but back in the late 90s there wasn't a standard rail. HK did the same thing, lots of companies did, but Walther would quickly go to a standard rail with the Gen 2s, like I said, beginning in 2004, 2005. And then they expanded with this. So, yeah, here it is with the suppressor. Yeah, it adds quite a bit of length, going from about 7.5 inches to a foot. And this Osprey is pretty lightweight, but still does add some length. So with no further ado, and with subsonic ammo, let's revisit it suppressed. PPQ suppressed.
Shit.
Bink. And now Fox suppressed.
Silent but deadly.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So Fox and I each ran a couple of mags through it, no problems. I've shot this gun this way for years and years with 147 grain ammo. Sometimes different, rates like 124 as well, but if you want best suppression, you need to do that. And if you hear that kind of first round pop, that's something known. You can put water in these or not, and I will say in person it's less noticeable than it is on camera, just kind of the way cameras work. But no, it is very, very much hearing safe, even if I still sometimes wear ear pro just in case. So with that, let's hand it off to nephew. He's only really shot this gun a couple of times and the P99 before it, and never suppressed, and his experience with suppressors on pistols in general is, well, he's young. Let's see what he thinks. Now, nephew.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I think it light struck. No, it didn't. Huh. Okay. We'll see.
First time with the Walther.
Yeah?
Seems close to my experience. Dude, your thumb. Okay, I see what's going on. You're resting this thumb.
Oh.
Slide.
That's the slide, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the slide. You're pushing up like you're catching it.
Yep.
Okay. So now I should just
put your thumbs out of the way. Push them off to the left.
Yeah, with the suppressor, you gotta be real.
Good. You're doing the same thing. Your hands are hitting the. Go ahead.
Okay. I just gotta. Okay.
Yeah. You're resting your hands on this. There you go. Cock it. There you go.
Again, but look at my thumb.
Oh, let me try.
This is where I have my thumb.
Okay, and now you kind of understand part of the title of this video. What's going on? So let's hand it off to Fox. Maybe the gun's having a malfunction, maybe it's the mag, maybe it's the ammo. As much as you want to say it's how you're handling it, you never want to just completely blame the user. Did I charge that? I don't remember. Didn't think so. Before. Oh, that was the
last round.
That's like what? Okay, that was pretty funny for a second. Last round, empty. But for a second, I thought we really had a problem with the gun. While Fox reloads, it's a good time to just mention the mags very quickly. P99 mags are roughly speaking interchangeable. With the Gen 1s, you see a smooth-sided, kind of blued mag here with a polymer base plate. Fun fact, these are actually an adaptation of the earlier P88 mag. But with the Gen 2, they went to this pattern of mag, sans the extension. In fact, the early PPQ mags were marked P99, which again, people were confused. They have a different texture, more of a matte finish. Now, the true PPQ mags have an updated finish that's both corrosion and friction resistant. The true mags also have a kind of a yellow-orange follower, and regardless, they're all made by Metgar on behalf of Walther. Now, nominally, PPQ and P99 Gen 2 mags are totally interchangeable, which is true. The truth is, Gen 1 mags will actually fit in the PPQ, and Gen 2 in the Gen 1 P99, but reliability may not be 100%. With the original mags, they were 16 rounds, so 16 plus 1. For the Gen 2s, they were 15 rounds, so 15 plus 1, plus a plus 2 in here. And they reduced their number of rounds for better reliability. They introduced these kind of grooves in the side, these cutouts. Just thought I'd mention it while Fox reloads. So with that, let's see how it shoots for him again.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
I
we
would
go.
just, anytime I'm holding, especially with this slide catch up here, just pop them out to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Understand.
So okay, working fine for Fox. So at this point, it does seem like it is nephew's technique, habit, or style, whatever you'd prefer. With some instructions and kind of seeing us shoot it, let's hand it off to him yet again.
Okay. Changing up my grip. Dude, I swear to God.
It's something the way, try it again. Go ahead and cock it back. You're riding that slide forward. See, look, you're cut all the way. There you go.
Dude, I cannot.
Okay, it seems like your wrist and this gun are not getting along. So this isn't closed. I see what's going on. You're not tucking in. Instead of squeezing that, put pressure inward.
Okay.
You're riding, I don't know the correct term, but you're limping it enough where it can't bring itself forward, because see, it just did it again. So watch. When you cock this dude back, let that dude ride. You've got this suppressor on here, and I think it's putting weight on that
Oh, it's
barrel.
definitely a lot of weight.
And you can't, you got to let all that ride. And then one more thing.
Yeah.
Grab right here and squeeze. I think you're squeezing more forward.
You're limp wristing
and
it, basically.
And it's pulling that
Okay,
suppressor.
so I'm limping it. All
Yep,
right.
yep.
Just hold it real stout and steady. Keep your fingers low. Grip it lower, too. It sounds like you're choking it a little
It's
high.
kind of funny because I had the same issue with a Walther when I first shot Walther. So let's see what you got here.
All right, so I'm gonna
Yep.
change my.
Yep. Don't ride any slide and clap
Choke it.
almost like you're clapping your hands together. There you go.
Okay.
Now, palm in, ride that palm in, thumbs out of the way, and then kind of choke it. There you go. Nice and easy. There you go. It did the same thing.
Dude,
You rode it forward again.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Changing grip.
Are you doing one hand or two?
Two.
Do one. Try one hand.
Out of battery?
Go. There you go.
Definitely a learning curve.
It is, man.
Well, I think that's like my first time ever like shooting like actually with a real can. So
You got one more bullet over there too. Go ahead. You got two more, so let's see if you can get it. I think what Misha said there, do one-handed.
I've always found one easier with that, with the suppressor. Kind of pointing it out straight, edge on. It's just more comfortable for me with that.
All right. Let's see what you got. There you go. It did it again. Push forward.
dude, man, the wall.
You got me right in the forehead with that casing. Right in the forehead.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, I am catching a lot of.
So let's do this. Let's get the can off.
Alright, so I don't want to edit the footage or anything. I want to be honest. And I would ask that in the comments you be, generous. Keep in mind, sometimes it's easier to see what people are doing on camera versus real life. Also keep in mind that nephew is young, although still over the legal age of 21 for all this, for whatever it matters. He's actually a firefighter. I think that just kind of gets into the technique and tactics, if you will. But before we talk about final judgment, let's go with Fox's suggestion.
Alright, nephew with the Walther unsuppressed.
Turns out we had a little bit of a suppressor issue.
Yeah. I really do like this gun now.
So, with the suppressor removed, he had no troubles. Why is this? And, well, why might not suppressors be for everyone, at least every gun, everyone? Let's look at a few factors. This would be one of those times I wish I could be in front of the camera, but look at the balance point of this gun. With the suppressor on, it's not hard to hold up even one-handed at all, but it does tip forward. It does want to kind of go down. That's with in battery, ready to pull the trigger. But it's even more apparent when you have the slide charged back. Even with it back, even with weight projecting rearward, it still has weight going forward. In addition, this is a tipping or tilting barrel system. So this is putting weight on this barrel that tips up and down. So it's hanging off and changing it. Of course, when you're firing subsonic ammo, you've got a heavier, slower bullet too, which is giving less oomph. Again, it changes the way the gun feels and the projectile operates. And of course, you have a different style of back pressure. Now let's examine it with the suppressor off. So, with just the muzzle cap, the thread protector on, this gun is pretty well balanced. Yeah, there's a little bit of forward weight in battery, but it's much lighter and more balanced of a gun. In fact, it's only about 22 ounces, about 1.5 pounds unloaded. And of course, it's even more apparent this way. When cycling or out of battery, it's almost heavier in the rear. It's either center balanced or actually balanced rearward, which lets this tipping barrel fully tip up with no resistance, fully going down. So what do we think's going on? I really like this slide release. It's truly ambidextrous. It's quite thin. It's also very low profile. It's long. You can easily hit it. And the way I hold this gun, I'm far away from it. But if you really are choking up high on the gun, I could see pressing up on that as you cycle the slide and interrupting it. Now, I think what was happening with the suppressor, the slide is moving slower, and so pressing up on this had more time to intercept the slide and jack it open. When it was unsuppressed, it's moving faster, and it just wasn't doing the same thing. On top of that, I think he was still tending to limp wrist it, not really hold it out straight, which unsuppressed with less weight isn't such a big deal. But when you hang that suppressor off of it, it's like limp wristing any gun. it doesn't work. Now, training and tactics can do this. And what's interesting to me, I've handed this gun with suppressor to other people, and this has never happened before. And again, that was Fox's first time shooting it today as well, and it never happened to him. And Fox is an adamant, vehement Glock shooter, so it's not that, but it is a tactic, a technique, and yeah, it's something that training could work out. But it also goes to show you suppressors do complicate and compromise the system. To get something to be quieter, you are doing a trade-off. You're slowing the bullet down, you're giving more back pressure, you're changing the way the system works. And that's actually why I'm not a big suppressor person myself. I don't mind that on 9mm, either a blowback, say like an MP5, or a pistol like this. And I do think that 9mm is fine. I also really like 45 suppressed because it's already a subsonic round, so it probably is the least affected by anything. But when you get to rifles, whenever you build a suppressed gun, you have to adjust for it. Either it needs to be a dedicated suppressed gun, or you need to have ability to switch it, like the gas system, say an adjustable gas block, which on some guns is perfectly easy. Some guns are built for that. The Bren comes to mind, adjustable gas system. But other guns, like a standard AR-15, not so much. You don't have an adjustable gas block. Or an AK. What actually really kind of bothers me about suppressed AKs is because of the AK's open gas system with ports in it, which is part of its regulation. You almost have to plug those ports. Same goes for the Steyr AUG. The suppressor kit for an AUG actually plugs that, or otherwise you have a pop. And the same with an AK. Another thing that bugs me, a lot of rifles suppressed are still not hearing safe. So at that point, I'm kind of wondering, what's the point? If you still have to wear ear pro. Now I understand if you live in a city or if you're in Europe and it's just kind of a noise pollution issue. But for around here, for where a lot of people shoot where it's outdoors, I don't know. I just don't personally see a purpose myself. This is just personal taste. It's not even a judgment on you. On doing, say, 300 Win Mag or 308 suppressors, blah, blah, blah. Because they're not hearing safe. And typically, if it's a semi-auto, you've got to do a lot of adjusting. Now, bolt actions are a whole other story. Like a suppressed 22, that's cool, especially bolt action. Suppressed revolvers, not so useful. Those who know why. The one thing I will say is like 300 Blackout, made explicitly, along with the guns it usually is chambered in, for suppressors. Okay, that's kind of a different story. But trying to suppress, say, 545 by 39, I don't know about that. You're either having a supersonic projectile or you're slowing 545 down to subsonic, which kind of defeats the purpose of that round. And again, I'm not judging military operations where suppression actually might have a purpose. I'm just saying that grabbing a suppressor isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Most of you, like me and Fox, will probably shoot it just fine. But once in a while, you might run into someone like Nephew, you might be that, where you have to really change how you work with a gun or find the right gun for your suppressor that works for you. Because they're not universal. There's a lot of suppressors that don't work with a lot of guns, and you need mounts, and then of course you have to worry about things like baffle strikes. And on top of that, when you get a suppressor, you're married to it. I've got a friend right now who's going through an issue of needing to liquidate suppressors, and he just realized what a pain that is. So that's why I've always thought, okay, have one or two suppressors. But personally, I've never wanted to have a collection of them, because what do you do with them if you want to get rid of them, or if you sell the gun they go with? Plus, again, it's kind of a fun novelty to shoot one gun suppressed, But all the time, I don't understand that thing. And it's a relatively new thing. Years back, it wasn't even something you saw much. It's kind of a new, modern phenomenon. And then on top of that, usually you have to use special bullets, special cartridges that cost considerably more than, whatever cheap stuff you typically plink with. There are a few exceptions, like I said, 45's one. It's a cost thing that I just don't think is often worth the squeeze. You will probably disagree, and that's cool. But, just giving our take. And with the day out with nephew, it was a really good example as to why. And, one thing that can go wrong with these on top of everything else. And, of course, this is an NFA item, so you're not able to travel across state lines without getting the forms. I know it's easy, but it's still something you have to do. And, of course, it's regulated, registered, and they know where suppressors are at. So, yeah, is it really worth it just to have a gun that shoots a little quieter? Maybe it is, but I think sometimes we kind of over-glorify suppressors in the gun world. By the way, whatever happened to that Hearing Safe Act? Everyone was talking about it at the end of 2016. Strangely, by January 2017, it just kind of, went silent. Funny thing about that. End to end, because it's me and because I really love Walthers, and because now the PPQ is officially done. Yeah, in early 2021, Walther announced they were no longer going to be manufacturing the PPQ. It would be replaced by the PDP, which is just another iteration in a long line. The PDP has a reworked grip, slightly reworked trigger, different slide serrations, but it has pretty much what all modern guns do, a removable plate on the top for an RMR. And this series had several changes. Yeah, it started with the P99 up here. P99 Gen 2. And then, of course, there was the PPQ M2, making this the PPQ Classic or M1. I don't have a standard M2, but I have the PPQ-C here, which was always an M2. And the difference was the Browning-style mag catch. Instead of the German-style ambidextrous, this is a reversible catch, which I don't think was an improvement. In fact, it was done for the American market around 2013 starting off, to kind of appease Americans. That kind of goes back to nephew and training. Sometimes I think you should train to use the gun more than making the gun fit your preconceived notions. Because frankly, I think this paddle release is excellent. I can drop a mag right-handed. Same gun, no alterations. Left-handed. Or if it's really stuck, I can use both fingers and really get it. I like that. And I'm used to it. With this style, yeah, you can drop it easily. But, of course, if you needed to grab it real quick left-handed, or if you put it in your left hand, your finger might ride on it and hit it accidentally. While I don't hate the Browning release on other guns, I just don't see, it seems like a step backwards to me. It always has. Other changes, around 2015, they went from standard rifling in these to polygonal. That's cool. They also introduced a 45 version. And of course this compact version is most recent. And I wanted to mention the mags. Now, we actually had this out a little while back because J-Ro was interested in getting a new carry gun. So, just for funsies, here's the PPQ compact and him switching mags. Well, trying to. Kind of shows you how the mag release works and everything, though. PPQ compact. Open.
I got kind of a rain of brass there. I was
The best kind of rain.
directly in the trajectory of the brass.
It's not the first time.
No, certainly not.
So mags, again, Gen 1, and then PPQ Gen 1, and here are the ones that came with the compact. They're no longer interchangeable because of the new latch system. We have 2 cutouts, different spots. It came with the standard 15 rounder here with a little sleeve. It also came with a couple of compact mags with the smooth body, which is fun because these were actually the same style of mags. Smooth body, kind of a glossy blue finish. They were in the P99 compact, but of course again not interchangeable because of needing that M2 style release. There's also a finger rest version in the box. At least with mine. Mine came with 3 mags. I think it was considered the LE version. It's got the metal sights again. I really like this gun for what it is. It's that nice trigger. But, like I said, they're being replaced now by the PDP, which is fine. And it's all part of the series, including the PPS and PPS M2. Walther's really good about interoperability, interchangeability. Which is why if you get familiar with one, take that time to get used to it. Once you do that, you really get familiar with all of them. And since I started with the P99, progressing forward through all their guns, even the PPX and the Creed and all that, has been very intuitive for me personally. But my journey is different from a lot of people. And, yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, years ago, I went and picked up this at a local shop because they had it when I was buying my first striker gun. It worked well for me, and so it kind of started a love affair with modern Walthers. I always did like the classic ones, the PP, PPK, and P38. And then when this first edition came along, I thought, why not? And then I thought, if there's a spot in the box for a suppressor, get a suppressor. So this was my first suppressor I ever picked up. And so that's why I was happy to share it with Fox. But I know that it's not everything and the end all and be all. So, most of the time, if I want to bring out the PPQ, I just shoot it like this. That way I can put 124 and even 115 grain in it. Not worry about it. But once in a while, for friends and family, I have a small stash of a few hundred rounds of 147 grain SIG and whatnot to have fun with. So, I'm not saying don't get a suppressor, far from it. I'm just saying realize that if you do, it may not just be as simple, and don't get frustrated if at first you don't succeed. Well, just try again. So what do you think? Love to hear your own experiences. Share them in the comments. As always, if you could, please like, share, subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, because, yeah, suppressor ammo is definitely expensive, check out the link to Patreon. This is Misha, and on behalf of Fox and Nephew and Jero, we'll catch you very soon. Next time.